Hello friends, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to build a very beautiful web mapping application, as you can see here, using React-Leaflet and JavaScript, and also we shall use Postgres to fetch our data from the database, and also we shall connect using the API. So just to show you, here is my pgadmin, and I have this data here, which is the crime data acquired in the year 2015. So I haven't found any recent kind of data that I can use to show you, but we shall just use that one because it will help us achieve our goal at the end of the project. So here, this is the project. As you can see, we have different components here, and the first thing is that we have case, or the case for the crime, and here you can see that we have different cases. So we have the homicide, drugs, robbery, assault, and breakings. Then that one also reflect here, which is dynamic. If you can see, if I go here and change from homicide to drugs, you can see that our legend also changes from the previous one to what we have selected here, and also the map changes based on what we have selected. So if I change to assault, you can see that the map also changes to assault. And then if you are keen, you can see that on our right side here we have the list of top counties of displaying this case here. So you can see here, if I click on assault, and this one changes to show the top 10 counties in our country that have higher cases of assault. And now if you go to down here, you can see it says that crime distribution, and this one is a donut chart or a pie chart depending on the radius that you selected in your code. So here it says that click a county on the map to view the crime distribution. So if you click on any county here, you can see that it zooms into the map, and then if you scroll down, you can see that we have now the cases, each case, and is shown by how much percentage this county has each case. So here we have the assault and we have the robberies. You can see also we have the cases. This is 253, which is 16%, and this is 831, which is 52%, that is assault. And then robbery is 253 cases, that is 16%. Then we have drugs, 143, which is 9%. And then we have homicide, 107 cases, and then is 6.8%. Then lastly, we have 15%, which is breakings, that is 240 cases. So this is what we are going to build using React-Leaflet, and also React.js, CSS if you like. Then we shall also use PostgreSQL to fetch this, to store our data. We shall also use our API. Here we have our APIs, and this is going to be our API. So get ready and let's get started. Okay friends, so now you need to ensure that you have installed pgadmin 4, and you have also installed PostgreSQL plus PostGIS extension. If you don't know how to do that, I'll leave the link in the description to those videos where you can follow along and install the necessary applications that we are going to use in this project. You also need to install Visual Studio Code, because that is our code editor that we shall be using throughout this project. So now you can see here that I have my pgadmin 4 up and running, and inside here I have around 12 databases, and my current database is GIS, as you can see here. So you also need to go ahead and create one of your databases if you like. So you go ahead to just right click on this database here, and then you can create one of your database, and then you need to go ahead and publish your shape files so that we can be on the same page as I do the project. I will leave the link in the description to my GitHub repository, where you will go ahead and download the data that I'm using in this project. You can also follow along using GitHub, and this is the project that we are going to build. So here you can see, as you will do all those steps here, you need to have your data as mine. So here you have my data, which is crime. If you right click on that and then just go ahead and view all rows like this, this is going to open up your table with the columns inside. So you can see, say select all from public, and the public has the crime table, and we are going to order all these columns or all the rows with the GID as we have here. So you can see that we have all these columns inside. We have the counties, we have the homicide as the crime type, we have the morality, we have robbery, we have against, we have breakings, and so on and so forth. But at the end of this column, you need to have your geom column, which represents the geometry type of this geospatial data. So if you click on geom or geometry, you can see that we have a map that displays our counties. And if you click on any county like this, you'll see that you are able to visualize the columns that are inside that geospatial data. So this is what we are going to use to create our project. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this one here. We shall come to that later on. And I'm just going to create a new folder here. So just click on new and create a new folder. And this is going to be crime dashboard. Crime dashboard like this. So this is our folder for our project. That's our root folder. So I'm just going to open my Visual Studio Code like this and then drag and drop the folder inside this Visual Studio Code. So I just do like this, and then this one will open up our root folder, and then we can go ahead and create the other folders that we are supposed to use in this project. So you need to create two folders. The first one is so the first folder is the client. We need to have client folder, and then also need to have the server folder like that. So after that, the next thing is that you will need to go inside your server folder and then create your server Node.js. So inside the server folder here, we just need to instead of doing that, we can just open up our terminal like this, and then our terminal here, just I like using git bash, so just navigate to git bash, and then this is going to open up git bash like this. And we can also click here to create a new terminal like that. I'm just going to delete this PowerShell because I don't like using PowerShell. And so inside the first terminal like this, you can cd into server. We are going to begin with the backend because the front end has quite some code. So we just need to begin with the backend, which is quite simpler. So click on cd server and then click on enter. Now we are inside the server folder, as you can see here. So next thing is that you need to initialize your server. So to do that, you just need to say npm init-y and click on enter. This is going to create our package.json file that will have some default code inside, or the parameters. And you can see that we have our package.json here, which just has the name of our server, the version, the main is, of course, we are using index.js, and then we have how to start our script, then some few lines of code there, the keywords, author, the license, and description. If you want, you can add the description inside, but you can see the license is ISC. Okay, so inside our package.json, we need to go ahead and install some of the packages that will help us to run the project, or dependencies. So after that, still inside our server folder, I'm going to install the Express and also the cause and the PG admin. So here I'm just going to say npm install. So say npm install cause, install Express, and also you need to install PG, and also you need to install the nodemon like that. So if you click on enter, this is going to install all these dependencies, and we shall be ready now to proceed to the next step. So I'll just pause here and come back after the dependencies have finished installing. Okay, so you can see that we have managed to install all the dependencies, and now we have the dependencies, we have the cause, we have the Express, we have nodemon, and we also have the PG. Okay, so PG is a package that will help us to, or a dependency that will help us to connect to Postgres through an API. So you can go ahead and just close this package.json, and then inside our server folder like this, we're going to create two files. So the first file is the db.js, and the second file is the index.js like this. So the db.js is where we are going to define our database, connection. So we need to have the database URL, we need to have the user, we need to have the passwords, and also need to have the port. Okay, but before that, we need to create an env file to store our environment variables, because we don't want to expose our passwords and username to the client. So we can go ahead and inside a server folder, just click on this, and then you can create .env like this. And now inside .env, we are going to define the database URL, the users, the user, the host, the database itself, and the passwords. So here you just need to have your database URL, so database underscore URL. You also need to have your PG user, so say PG user, and this is going to be equal to the user. And then we also need to have PG host. We also need to have PG database, so PG database like that. We also need to have the PG password, and also need to have the port. Okay, so the URL is going to be the Postgres, so you can say Postgres, supposed to be lowercase, so Postgres, supposed to be Postgres like that. And then the Postgres localhost 52, and then your database is supposed to be GIS, because that is our database, and the host is 5432 I mean. And then we also need to define the password. So before the localhost here, we need to have the password, so we need to say Postgres, and then we put a colon like this, and then pass in our password. So I'm just going to write the password here, but I'll need to hide that. So then the next thing is the PG user. So we need to have the Postgres, which was our user then, and then the password or the host. We need to have the host as localhost. You remember that, so localhost. And then we also have the database, which is GIS, and then our password. So I'll have the password there, and then the port is 5432 I mean, like that. So just control save, and then you need to close your env and move on to db.js. Okay, so inside our db.js, we also need to install the .env. So here we just need to say npm install, supposed to be npm install .env, and this is going to install the dependency that will help us to connect to get the values that we have specified inside our env file to the db.js. Okay, so now here we just need to say require .env.config, and then down here we just need to say const pool. So we need to say const pool is equal to require pg, and then down here we just need to say const pool is equal to a new pool like that. And then inside our pool constructor, we need now to define the string, the connection string, the user, the host, the database, and also the password. So inside here we just need to say connection. We need to say connection string is equal to the process.env database URL. So this database is coming from the .env file here that we have just defined. And then the next one is supposed to be the user. So say user is going to be the process.env.db user. And then the next one is the host. So we need to say host is going to be process.env.host. And then we also need to get the database as the database. So here we just need to say db. We need to say the pg database. So here I'm just going to say pg database like this. And then the password is going to be the pg password. So here we just need to say pg password, and then the port is going to be db port like that. Okay, and also we need to change this one's supposed to be pg, so it is pg, not db. So make sure to change this one to pg, and this one is also supposed to be pg user like this. So pg user, and then we have the pg host like that. Okay, so now the next thing is we need to go to our index.js, but first we need to export this pool. So down here we just need to say modules, module.exports pool, then you save that file like so. And now the next thing is we need to go to index.js and have our APIs inside our index.js. So now we go to index.js, and then the first thing that we need to define is the .env. So here just say require .env, and then .env.config. Then inside, just want to confirm something here, inside our db.js supposed to be in quotes like this. So require.env.config like that, and then the pg is supposed also to be in the quotes. Okay, so inside our index.js here, we need to go ahead and say const express. So here we just need to say const express is equal to require express, and then cause is equal to require cause, and then const pool is equal to require. Then we go inside our db folder to get the pool, which is inside the db.js like that. Okay, so now the next thing here is now we need to say const app. So just say const app is equal to express, and then we also need to get the port. So we need to say const port is equal to process.env .port, and if the port is not defined, then we just have to initialize it with port 5000 like that. Then the next thing is that we need to say app.use cause like this, and then we also need to use the express.json like that. So after that, now we need to listen to this port. So we need to say app.listen. We are listening to the port. So we listen to the port that we have defined, and then we need to have a function here, and this function is going to say console.log, and then we say server is running on port, that kind of port that we defined, which is port 5000. Okay, so then after this we can go ahead and save the file. Then we can now start our server. So to start our server, we just need to say npm run dev like this, and this is going to run. Oops, there is an issue here. So there is an issue here that says missing script dev, because we have not defined inside our package.json how we are going to run this file. So inside our scripts, we are going to say start. To start the development, we need to start by running the nodemon. So here inside we just need to say nodemon index.js like so. So click on save, and then let's try npm run dev again. So this is supposed to run using the nodemon. Oops, this one is supposed to be dev, so the development, and then click on npm run dev. Yes, now we have our port running on port. Then it says that pool. Okay, then it means that there is some error here, and so let's see what could be the issue here. So it says module is not found. So the problem is inside our db.js, and it is here supposed to be module and not modules. So say module.exports pool, control save that, then let's try to run. You can see that now the port has the server has started, and it's running on port 5000 as we had defined. So I'm just going to close this package.json file, go inside my index.js, and have our API that is supposed to fetch the data from the database. Okay, so now inside our index.js, we are just going to have our get API. So we say app.get, and this is supposed to get the API / users then we say /counties, and then we're just going to say sync, then we pass in the request and response like that. And then after that, we now need to go inside here and have some functions that are supposed to get the data from the database as we want. So here we're just going to say const result. So we say const result is supposed to be await pool dot query, and then we need to have the select query inside this, but this one is supposed to be in template strings. And then we are just going to say select. So inside this one here, we need now to say select, and we are just going to select JSON B like this, JSON B underscore build like that. Then we say underscore object. This one is supposed to be JSON instead of JSON B, JSON like that, underscore build underscore object. Then you need to have these parentheses inside, and then we are just going to pass in now the parameters. So the first one is the type. So we need to say the type is going to be the feature collection. Okay. And the next one is going to be now the features. So here just say features like this. And the features then supposed to be the features, and the features is going to have the coalesce. So here I'm just going to say coalesce, and we need to coalesce JSON. So here just says JSON, oops, supposed to be lowercase, so JSON underscore args like that. Then now inside this, we now need to say JSON build object. So just say JSON underscore build underscore object like that. And then we also need to get the parentheses correct. So now inside this, we are going to get the type. So here just say type, it's supposed to be type, and the type is the feature. So the type is going to be the feature. So inside here we need to get the feature, it's supposed to be lowercase. I don't know why I'm confusing so much. So feature like this, and then we have a comma there, then move to a new line, and then we need to pass the geometry. So here we just need to get the geom, supposed to be in quotes. So we say geometry like this, and the geometry is going to be st as GeoJSON, st underscore as GeoJSON like that. Then we say c.geom, which is c represents the county, so c.geom like that. And then we need now to go outside the bracket, have two colons like this, and then say JSON, and then you need to get the comma. Okay. Now the next thing is the properties. So we're just writing a JSON file here. Then we need to get the properties. So just say properties, and the properties is going to be JSON, JSON underscore build underscore object like this. And this one is also going to have a parenthesis, and now inside this is where we are going to define our properties. Okay, so now we have properties as the county, and the county is going to be c.counties. So these are the columns that we are going to list, and these are the ones that we shall call in the front end. So then we say county, c.counties, and then supposed to be in quotes like this. Okay, and then the next one supposed to be, I think this one supposed to be outside, so c and then dot counties like that. So the next one is the homicide, So we are going to have the homicide like that, and then this one is supposed to be c dot homicide like that, have a comma there. The next one is supposed to be drag, so I can just duplicate this. So 1 2 3 and 4. So homicide, and the next one is supposed to be drags. So drags like this is the column, and then just delete this and say drags. So drags, remember these names should be just as they appear in the database. So drags like that. The next one is the robbery. So we are also going to define robbery. These are just the columns that I picked. You can pick any column from the table. Then here we just need to say counties dot robbery like that. And then we have the assault. And then here we just say counties dot assault. So this assault could be something like I'm just going to say stealing, because just looking at this table here. So if we go back to data output here, you can see that we have drags, we have GTA, we have stealing, and we also have okay, so I just want to use that name to represent assault. So assault is going to be the stealing, so just have that at the back of your mind. And then we also need to get breaking, and breaking is going to be breakings like this. So control save, and hopefully this is going to represent that. So after this one here, we are going to save this one, and then we just need to have this empty list here like this, and then have some column, and then say JSON like this. Okay, now I just realized that this property is supposed to be inside this one, so I'm just going to say Control X, and we need to get these properties inside this file here. So after we get this one, after JSON like this, we need to go inside and then have our properties like this. So that means that now we have so if I control save, so we have this one, we have this one here. So 1 2 3 and 4 like this, and then now we need to have 1 2 and 3. So we need to also cut this one, so cut this and have it inside this one like so. So control save that, and then after this, so down here we just need to say as geom, so say as geom JSON, as GeoJSON. Then we can go ahead and say from, so we are selecting all these as GeoJSON from our database, our table, which is crime underscore data, the counties, from the counties table. Okay, then we say where c.geom is not null. Okay, then have a semicolon like that. So after you've done this, make sure that you save your work. So I'm just going to confirm if everything is okay here. So make sure that you indent this one correctly, just as I've done here, so that you make sure that you are inside the parentheses. So we have the select, and then inside the select we have these ones. Then after that we have the features, and this one closes at the features down here. Then we have the JSON build object, which is there, and then also have the select. So I'm just going to indent this correctly. So after this, we now need to go ahead and wrap this inside our try catch block. So I'm just going to minimize this one like this here, control save, and then I'm just going to like cut it off and then say try and try catch. So inside the try, I'm just going to paste this, control save, and then we pass in our query. Then down here, after we select all from the database, so outside this, we're just going to say response. So response.json, then we get the result, and the result is going to get rows. So result.rows, and of course we're going to begin with the first row. Then we say .get .geojson like this. So control save. Then after that we now go get the catch block. So inside the catch block we have the error, and then just going to say console.log or console.error, console.error, and then we pass in the error. We can just say full error like this, and then we get our error like that. So control save that one. Then you can also go ahead and say response.status, and the status is supposed to be 500 if everything is correct, and then we can say JSON, then we say error. So error supposed to be error dot message like that. So control save this, and now we are just going to test this API if it functions correctly. So this way we just need to go to just this way. You can see it says that the port is running the server is running on this port. Okay, so now we can go ahead and inside our Chrome we can say localhost. We can say localhost 5000 like this /API. Then you can say /counties. So let's run this one. So it says that cannot get API counties. Okay, so looking at this code, I just realized that we have some few errors here. We are actually not supposed to get the users here because we are not fetching any users. We just want to get counties, and also need to begin with a slash. So we need to say app.get/API/counties like this. And also I'm just looking at this and I realized that here we have type, and here we have the features. This is supposed to be type and not types. And then we also need to have a comma here after JSON. So this one here. And then the next thing supposed to be, so this one supposed to be as GeoJSON should be caps. And then of course our database is not crime data but crime. Just if you look at our database here, pgadmin, you can see that we have crime and not crime data. So this is just a mistake. We just need to say crime. So control save this, and then let's look at the DB. DB is correct. So let's try to run this. So now you can see that our port is running on 5000. Let's try to now refresh the page. We get the errors. So near counties, let's see what could be the issue here. So inside our index, so we have the API/counties, and also here we are supposed to change this one to double quotes. So here we need to change this to double quotes, and then there was a comma here. You just need to remove that. Then if we go here and refresh the page, now we are supposed to see our data from the database. So let's just give it some time as it loads. Then you can see here we got our data set, and it means that our API is now fetching the data as we wanted. Okay, so that is it. You can copy this, or you can change this code here. If you go to your port here, to your console, you can say http:/, then you can say localhost, then you can say / that port. Okay, then down here we can have this one here. So this one is supposed to be this like that, and then it becomes a link. So if we click on this one here, we go to our Visual Studio Code to test the API. Then you can just say API/counties, click on enter, then we get our data back. Okay, so this means that the API is working fine, and so we move on to the front end. So let's proceed with the front end, and here we're just going to open a new terminal here on the git bash. So just click on the new and you select your git bash. Now inside this directory, we are going to cd into client, since we already created client. So cd client, and this will take you inside that folder for our front-end project. Now the next thing is that we need to create our React application. So just say npx create -react-app, and then you place a full stop at the end to ensure that you are creating your project inside this client folder. Still, you can use a Vite if you know how to use Vite, but I still prefer using create React app because it is quite simpler and the folder structure is what I learned. So after that, just click on enter like this, and this is going to create your React project inside the client folder. So I'm just going to pause here and I'll come back after the installation has completed. Okay, so you can see that the project has finished creating a React application. So now the next thing is that we need to go ahead and check inside the folders. Here you can see that we have public folders, node modules, we have source, and then inside our source folder here, we just need to open app.js like this, and then we can go ahead and also try to look at what this one displays on the front end. So you just need to say npm start to start your application, and so this is going to open up a React application in the browser window. So just as you can see here, we have some paragraphs with the codes here, and also we have some images from React, and then we just have an anchor tag here that says learn React. And so if you go inside the index.css, you only see that we have our app here inside the root. And so this is the application. It runs on localhost 3000 as usual. So localhost 3000, and our API was running on port 5000. As you can see, we got the data from the database, and this is our front end here. So as it opens up, let's go back to our code, and I'm just going to close the index.js and also close the index.js for the backend like that. So I'm just going to minimize this. So let us open the client folder, because this is where we are going to spend so much time to write our code. So open this source folder here, and inside we're just going to create another folder called components, as we always do because React is component based. So just type components like this, and inside the components folder we need to create some other folders that we shall use to now develop our application. And there we are going to have some cards. So inside the components folder, we need to have cards folder, and then again inside the components folder, we need to create another folder called charts like that. Since this is a dashboard, we need to have some charts, and then again we need to have the filters, because we shall be filtering some data. So filters like this, that's a folder. And then the last, we need to create a map folder. So here just create map folder. That's where our map is going to be. Then so let's see in the front end what is going on. Now you can see that we have our React application, the basic template from React. And you can see here that we only have an image there from React. We have some of this paragraph here, and also have this anchor tag where if you click, you will go ahead and be directed to react.js.org. And this is where you can now begin learning React. Okay, so we are not interested in that. I'm just going to close and go back to our localhost 3000. So let's go to app.js and clear some codes from that, because we are going to use components. Now inside React, just delete everything from the header section here. Just delete everything like this and refresh the page. Now if we go back to the localhost 3000, you see that everything has gone. Now we only have a blank white page where we are going now to implement the project. Okay, so if that's the case, then we need to go to our map folder here and create a new component. So we need to say map.jsx, and remember in React, all components are supposed to begin with a capital letter, like we have map.jsx. If you're doing anything else, you need to have that letter begin with the capital. So that's the syntax. So click on enter like that, and then we are going to create a function here. So you can say RAFCE to create your React arrow function like this. If you don't have this, you need to go to extensions. So just go to extensions in your VS Code, and then just type in React snippets or React ES7 React Redux snippets like this, and then go ahead and install these extension, and this is what will enable you to just type in some shortcuts, and then you'll have your code auto generated. Okay, so just close this one and also delete this from the search. Let's go back to our code. So inside the map.jsx, this is what we are going to have. Just need to increase the size of this. So let me go to preferences, then under settings, I need to go to font size and change this to something like 24, because I want you guys to see everything here. Whether you're on a small screen or a larger screen, you are supposed to see the code. So we have this font size. Now, since we have this map folder here, our map component, we need to import this inside our app.js. So because what is being displayed is in the app.js, so we need to import this component inside our app.js. So this way we need to just say map components, and you can see here it auto suggests the import. So you can see we are importing from components/map.jsx. Just click on this and you can see that it auto imports our map component from the components folder, map folder, and then the map.jsx. So then here you just go and self-close that, then you save. Now if we go to the front end here, you can see that we have our map. So this is the map text, but remember that we are going to have map, a real map inside this component. Okay, so now here we just need to go back and inside, let's go and install some dependencies. So I'm just going to open a new terminal here, or you can, if you want, you can still close this. Just say Control-C like this, and then inside the client folder, we are going to install some packages or some dependencies that we are going to use to develop the application. Okay, so now here you just need to say npm install, and we are going to install dependencies. So we are going to install leaflet, then we need to install React-Leaflet, then we also need to install Axios. These are dependencies that will help us to fetch data from the backend and connect to the front end. And React-Leaflet and Leaflet both are the Leaflet dependencies that we use to develop web maps in React. And then next one is going to be the Recharts, because we need also to have some charts. So we are going to use Recharts. You can use a different dependency, but I prefer using Recharts because it's quite seamless with React. So after that, just click on enter like this, and this is going to install all these 4 dependencies. So as it does that, let's go back to our map.jsx like this, and then begin writing the real code. So that way we just need to get some code from React-Leaflet. So just go to your browser here and just type React, supposed to be React-Leaflet. So just say React-Leaflet.js.org, and then this is going to open up documentation file. And so you can see here that to get started with your map, you just need to get the position set. So the position of your map, latitude and longitude. Then you need to render this component inside your return function. So it could be a return function or a render function. Then after that, you can see that we have some markers here, and inside the marker we have a pop-up, and this is what is being displayed here. You can see that we have this marker here, and if you click on this, it's going to open up a pop-up that says Pretty CSS3 pop-up. But this is what we are going to also do, but for now we don't need them. So I'm just going to copy this map component like this, and I'm just going to paste because it has links. So here inside our render function like this, or return function, I'm just going to paste the map component, and then I'll go ahead and remove the markers because I don't need to use that in this project. But at least we have our tile layer, which is from OpenStreetMap, so the basic OpenStreetMap base layer, and so it comes from www.openstreetmap.org, and also we have the copyright. Then down here we just need now to define the position, so we just say position like this, and now we are not going to use this position because this is not located at the location that we want to use. So we are going here to Google Maps. Just go to Google Maps like this, and then in your Google Maps, since I'm using my dataset from Kenya, I'll just get the coordinates from the middle of the country so that it becomes a well centered. So I'll just zoom out like this, and then just going to get the coordinates from the central part of the country. So I'll quite zoom in because then click here. So if you click, you can see that we get the latitude and longitude, but if you right click at the same point, you will now be able to copy the coordinates like this. So if you just click on that, you'll be able to copy the coordinates. So now you go back to your code, and instead of using these coordinates, you're just going to remove these coordinates like this. So just delete and then paste your coordinates for the position. Okay, so now we have latitude 0.58 and longitude 37.61 as our coordinates. So then the next thing is that we need to also here inside the map container, but first we need to go to package.json and confirm if we have installed. So you can see here we have installed Axios 1.9 or 1.19, Leaflet 1.9, and we have also installed the Recharts 3.10 and also have the React-Leaflet. Okay, so now to the map, we need to actually import these containers or components from the React-Leaflet. So to do that, you just need to come at the top and then say import like this. So import, control save, import map container and tile layer from React-Leaflet, and then you also need to import the styles. So but I'll show you before I do that. Just want to confirm something. Then after that, we just now go ahead and have some styles for the map container and the zoom. Of course, we have the zoom level as 13. Then let's get the scroll is also false. We can say this. We can set this to true because we want to scroll our map. And then the next thing is that we need to get the style. So here I'm just going to say style like this. And if I save, you can see that style is supposed to be 100 view height and the width is supposed to be 100%. So we are taking all the space in our browser window. So if we do that, control save, and then go back to your terminal here and just say npm start, npm start like this to start your application. And now if we go back to the browser here and start the project or refresh the page, we are supposed to see our map. Of course, it is opening in a new window, but we can still just close this and use, of course, this one also. So here we are supposed to see the localhost 3000, and also we are supposed now to see our map. If it does not appear, then there is something that I'm just going to show you. That means we just need to be a little bit patient. Now you can see that we got our map, but it is not styled. That means that we need to get the styles from React-Leaflet. So to do that, just go back to the imports, and then down here you just need to say import, and then you need to import leaflet/this/leaflet.css, and this is a style dependency from React-Leaflet and Leaflet, of course. This one is supposed now to ensure that our map is appearing. Now you can see that we are centered somewhere here, but the zoom level is quite big. So we just need to reduce the zoom level. So you go back to your code, and then instead of 13, we can have 6. So if we do that, then try to preview again, you can see that we are zoomed out around 6 zoom level. So you can also try out 7 because this one only takes whole numbers, and refresh the page. You can see that we are now at zoom level 7. Okay, so now it looks like everything is working fine. I'm just going to remove this logo from app.js because it is not being used anywhere. So I'll just go here to import and remove this, control save, and then we have only app CSS, and then we have the map container component, and it is being imported from components. So this is the first step. We have our packages installed, we have the map JSX, and we also have the app, and everything is working fine. Now the next thing is that we are supposed now to create the dashboard, but remember the dashboard is going to be like our parent, so everything will go inside our dashboard, and then the dashboard will now be imported inside the map or inside the app JS. So let's do that. Now inside our source folder, we are going to create a new folder here called pages. So I'm just going to click on create a new folder here and call it pages, like this. So since we have now a pages folder, the next thing is that we need to get the dashboard. So inside this, just create a new file, and this is also a component. So say dashboard.jsx, like this. And then after that, also need to have some dashboard CSS. So just type dashboard.css. Okay, so since now we are supposed to create a dashboard, and map will go inside the dashboard, and dashboard will become our parent, which will now be imported in the app.js. So instead of importing map inside our app, we shall get this inside the dashboard, and then dashboard will come inside the app.js, and that is what we are supposed to do next. So here we are also going to create a component. So just say React, not React, but RAFCE, like this, React arrow function component, and this is going to create our dashboard like this. So now the next thing is that we need to create or import the map inside this dashboard. So instead of having this one here, we're just going to get a class name here. Just say class name. Oops. We're supposed to be class name, and this is going to take the class name of dashboard. So dashboard, and so inside this div, instead of getting a dashboard, we just need to import the map. So just say map, and then import this from components folder, map and map.jsx. So after we've done this, if we go back to the app and remove the map like this and remove its import like this, I refresh the page, and now if we go back to the project here in the localhost, you can see that we don't get our map, but now we just need to get the dashboard inside the app. So here just say dashboard, since it is also a component that comes from pages, it's supposed to be imported from pages/dashboard, and then we self-close that, control save, and now we are supposed to see our map again. Okay, so this is what I mean. Now inside our dashboard is where we are going to import the rest of the components like crime, bar charts, the pie charts, the selectors, the filters, the legend, and all those components. So this way, it means that now we are working on a structure that is well, and it is well defined. So now we just need to go ahead and create now the context, because the context will help us to like kind of connect these applications instead of passing in props, drilling the props from the top to the bottom. So the context will help us to connect all these folders, all these properties and states together, so that we just now use the context instead of getting the props all over our application. So that is what we are going to do next. So to do that, we just need to go here to the components in the source folder, and then create a context folder. So here just type in context like this. So context, then click on enter, and inside the context we now need to create a crime context API. And so here we are just going to say create a new file there and say this is going to be crime context dot JSX, since it will also take some, it will also return some JSX, so we just need to get as JSX. So click on enter like this, and so here we're just going to create a function, so RAFCE, since it is a component, and then we can see that we got our context like this. So now we are supposed to get our states inside this crime context, and so to do that, we're just going to have our project. So instead of using the crime context like this, we are supposed to use the crime provider. So instead of crime context, we need to use the crime provider, and this one will also be exported as crime provider. So if I do this and I change this to crime provider, and then also supposed to be crime provider, like that. So control save, and now this is the component. And now inside this crime provider, we need to return some children. So here I'm just going to pass in the children, and the children will be all the props that we are supposed to pass in and the states. But then we also need to import this from React. So up here we need to import all this from React. So import React. I will put a comma here and have some curly braces, and so we need to say create context. So we need to import create context, like this. We also need to import the use context, and we also need to import the use memo, like that, as a memory. And then we also need to get the use state, so use state, like that. So if you save that, supposed to come from React. So after this, we up here, we just need to declare our crime context. So we need to say const crime context, crime context, supposed to be the create context. So after that, we need to save this, and then inside our context, inside our crime provider, like this, we now need to go ahead and have the code that is supposed, or the states that we are supposed to use in our project. But before that, we need to go back to index.js. So index.js is our root project. So if you go to index.js here, this is our root project, and instead of just having the app like this, we need to wrap our app inside the crime provider. So here I'm just going to say crime provider, supposed to be a component. So crime provider, you can see we have an auto suggestion here. So just click on this so that you import crime provider from crime context. So you just need to close this. So this is not self-closing, but it's supposed to close on both sides. So we have the opening tag and the closing tag. So we just need to move our app inside the crime provider. So like after this, it means that now our application is ready to use any context API, any states that we pass inside the context API. So we shall not be able to, like, if we are going to reuse our states in different application or different components, it is now going to be okay because we have already connected the application inside our crime provider, which comes from the crime context component. Okay. So now we can just go ahead and close the index.js in our front end, and then go back to the context API. And so inside the context, I will need to move the dashboard here first. Then so we have the crime context API here. So now inside this function, we just need to get the states. So I'm just going to get the states from our context. So up here, just say const. We need to say const crime type is equal to set use state. So we need to say crime types, or crime type, which is the variable, and set crime type is the function. Then we need to get this from the use state, and our crime type is going to be, by default, we need to get homicide. So homicide will be our default crime type. Okay, so then after this, we now need to have the counties to be selected. So down here, we just need to say const selected county, const selected county, set selected county, and at the beginning is going to be null because we cannot begin with we cannot set default county as selected since it is already in the geometry. So that will be null for now. It will be upon us to click on the polygon to get the current selected county. So for now, it will just be null. Okay, so after that, we need also use the memo. So here I'm just going to say const use memo, like this, use memo. and supposed to be value. So const value first is equal to use memo, like this. So inside the use memo hook, we need to have a callback function like this, and then after that we just need to get the values. So inside this we need to set the crime type. So here just say crime type, and after crime type also need to set the crime type. We need to select the county and also need to select the selected county to set the selected county. So I'm just going to tab on my key, and then we have the values. So the next thing is that we just remind our React application to use memo inside each memory, and then get our states like this, so that we can go ahead and use them. Okay, so after that we just need to go down here after the return function. Outside this, we now need to get the crime. We now need to use the context. So I'm just going to remove this export. I think it's supposed to be there for now. We need to say export. So we need to create another function here, say const use crime, and this function is going to be an arrow function, supposed to be an arrow function like this. And then inside here we need to define the context. So we say use context, crime context, control save. I know this is quite confusing, but if you do practice, you'll get to understand what is going on. So if we say if it is not context, if the context is not there, then we just need to return an error. So we can throw an error and say use crime must be used within the crime provider. Okay, so control save this, and then after that we just now need to say return. We need to return context, control save, and then we are ready to go ahead and use now our value. So to use our value here, we just need to go inside our return method in the JSX here, and instead of just having a div like this, we can now go ahead and just return the crime context.provider. So here we can have a function like this, and then inside this we now pass in our crime context component with its provider. So crime context dot provider like this, and then just tab like this to get your value. So you can see we have values equivalent to value, but then we also need to close this. So here we just need to close the context or the provider. So click on that one, and then you will have you have returned the provider from crime context. So the values are all these values. So we can pass these values either in map, JSX, or in filters, in count layers, and so on and so forth. But inside we need to tell it that you need to use all these for all the children that we have. So just pass in the children and save. Okay, so after this crime context or the API, we now need to just go ahead inside the dashboard. If you go to dashboard here, we also need to get the inside the map is okay. We can now go ahead and create the API for our crime. So we need to get the data from the database or inside our server. Remember that our server is running on port 5000. You can see here it is running on port 5000. If the port is not provided, then by default it will be on port 5000. Okay, so since we have set up our context and everything is okay, we need to let me just close this dashboard. We need to go to create another file and then call it the crime API.js. So let's go ahead and create the API. So inside the source folder here, we just need to create another folder called APIs. So just say API like this, and inside the API we need to have the crime API. So just say crime API.js. So since this is an API, supposed to be .js and not JSX. For JSX, it means it is a component. So now here we just need to say const API is equal to our HTTP. So you can go ahead and copy this as we had done. So just say http like this, and then we need to say localhost 5000, and then just remove the crimes and retain the API. So we are getting these. Our API will have localhost 5000/API as we did it here. If you go back to your browser and look at the data that we fetched from the database, you see that we have localhost 5000/API. For this, we now need to go ahead and use this API inside our function that is getting the counties, since we are supposed to display these counties actually. So now down here, we just need to say const. We need to export. So we say export this function, export const. So this is just a function, const get counties, and this is an async function because we need to synchronously get the data first. So sync, and after this we just need now to get the response. So we say const response is equal to await, and then we fetch the data from the API/counties. Remember here that we are getting this data from localhost 5000/API/counties. So that's why we have our API as this and then /counties. If you don't want to declare this API, you can still use this whole link inside this fetch API. But since we just declared up here, it's like we just wanted to reduce the length of our link. So we have fetch API, but remember that we have our template strings here because this is coming from a dynamic variable here. Okay, so we have /counties like this, and then after this we just need to return the response. So we say response, we need to return the response. So return response.data. Okay, so that will be our API, but we need to get this we need to import Axios from Axios because we want to fetch this, we want to use Axios instead of the fetch API. So up here we just need to import Axios. So just enter this, and above on our line 1 we just need to say import Axios, import Axios from Axios like this, and instead of await fetch we can say await Axios.get. So await Axios.fetch.get, and then we get the data from our API like that. So now this one becomes our crime API, which we are going to use inside the layers to get the layers. So just control save this, and let's proceed with now fetching this data to the front end. So now let us proceed by creating a new file that will be used now to display the layers to our map. So now to do that, we just need to go back to the components. So inside the components folder and map, since this is a map related file, we need to create a new file inside the map folder. So here we just need to say the county layers, county layer.jsx, county layer.jsx like this. This is a component that we are going to use now to fetch this data from the crime API and then display on the map. So now to do that, we just need to create a component and say RAFCE, and this is going to create the component. Now after this, we just need to get the states correct and then set everything inside the use effect function and then get the map to display. So now to do this, we just need to go up here inside the function and then say const geo data like this. We need to set geodata to null using the use state, but remember we need to import this use state from React. So up here we just need to say import use state from React. Okay, so now after this state we also need to get the crime. So we need to say const crime. So since this is a type from the use crime, we need to say crime type. Remember this is coming from the context, so we need to say crime type, and then we need to select selected county. So selected county like this, which comes from the use crime, from the use from the context. So this way we need also to import the use context up here. So we need to say import use crime from the use context API. So after this, the next thing is that we need now to go ahead and also use the map. So we can say use map. So const map const map is equal to use map. Now after that, we now use the use effect to get this data from the CRIME API to the front end. So down here, we're just going to say use effect. We need to use the use effect. So just say use effect, and this use effect is going to have a callback function like this, and then inside here we just need to say get counties. Remember, we have this get counties from the CRIME API, so just say get counties, and this is a function. Then we say dot, then we set the geodata to this data that we have got from the CRIME API. So then after this, we just need to catch if there is some errors. We just need to say catch error, and then we can just say console.error like this, and this will get the error if the data is not available. So after this, it means that now we have the use effect here. We are getting this from the CRIME API. So that means that we need to come here and also import the get counties from the CRIME API. So you just need to say import, and we need to import get counties. So get counties like this, and you can see this is coming from the CRIME API component, or the API folder. So just save this, and you can see here we have the get counties from the API folder, and then we have the CRIME API as our file, which is just here. So we are getting this data, which is already displayed inside our localhost API. So if you can refresh this, you can see that we have this data here. So this is the one that we are getting on our front end using this API, and this is coming from the get counties. So the get counties function is what we call inside our county layers here inside the use effect. So you can see we have the get counties then set this geodata, and then we just console if there is an error. So after this, we can now go ahead inside our return function. Instead of returning this div here, we can just return the GeoJSON. So here we just need to say return GeoJSON file like this. This is a self-closing component that comes from React-Leaflet. So I don't know why this is not deleting like this. And then we just need to have a self-closing component like this. So this one is supposed to come from the React-Leaflet. So you just need to come up here and say import. So you can just say import GeoJSON. So import GeoJSON from React-Leaflet. Okay. Then after this, you also need to get the use map from React-Leaflet. Remember that we have used the use map here, which also a dependency from React-Leaflet. So here you need to say use map like that. Then of course we have the use state here, and we need to also get the use effect. So we say use effect, which comes from React. So now after this, we have our get counties like this coming from the CRIME API here. So the next thing is we need to go down here to GeoJSON, and we need to now display this data to our map. The first thing is that you need to get the data. So inside this, just say data, and data is supposed to be equal to the geodata. So we need to say geodata like this, and supposed to be geodata. Okay, then control save. This geodata is supposed to be coming from our state, and since we are setting this on get counties, so it means that we have our data. So I'm just going to remove this semicolon here, control save. So return GeoJSON supposed to be inside this function, so we need to wrap this around this function here. So control save. So you have data is geodata, and we need to continue writing something here. I just forgot this. So after this function, the use effect, of course, we can go ahead and also have the styles, and we need to track this data. We need to track something here. So we just need to track this set data here. So after this, we now go ahead and inside the GeoJSON file, of course, we need also to pass the styles. But before that, I'll just like to have the styles here. So I'll need to define style. So I'll say const style, and this style is going to, right now we can just have basic styles. So if you want this, you can pass in a feature, and then we can create callback inside this function like this, and then pass in our object. So we can have our fill color, and fill color supposed to be you can just say that maybe you need to have some basic color. So this one can be any color that you like, so it will be a fill color for our polygons. And then you can also get the weight, or the weight can be something like 2, and fill opacity. So after this you need to get the fill opacity like this, and we can play around with the 0.5. Then after this we can also get the color of the boundaries. So color can be that color still. So after this we have now the weight as 2, fill opacity, we have the color. So this color is the boundaries, and this is the fill color. So now control save, and then inside our GeoJSON here we can still pass in the style. So we can say style is equal to style. I don't know why this is here. It says that expected count layer line 7. I don't know if this is correct. Yeah, so we need to close this. I think I deleted this closing. So here we just now need to get this to the map. So let's see if something displays on the map. So go to your map, try to refresh this, and now we still not get data from our API. So let's just take a look and see what could be the issue here. So since we are having our style, const style is being displayed here as style, and then we also need to, of course we are getting our counties. So get counties from the API, which is here. We have the get counties inside the count layer. Of course now we need to go ahead and import this component. Remember, this is a component, so we need to go ahead and import this component inside our map JSX. So we can go down here inside our map component. Down here after the tile layer, we need now to import the county. So we need to get the county layer, which is coming from the count layer. So it is a component from the map. So after this, it says that geodata is not defined. So let's go to county layer here. It says that geodata is not defined. Oops, this one is supposed to be geodata like this. So with capital D, set geodata like that, and then down here we need to say geodata, and then we also need to set geodata here with the correct naming convention. So set geodata. Then after this, it says that map is not is defined but never used. Of course we are going to use that just in a minute because we need to click on the map. Now after this, let's go ahead and preview the map. We still not get the map displayed, or the dataset displayed. So let's just see what could be the missing element here. Now that we are trying to display the data, and you can see that we are inside this function, which is the count layer, and then after this we have the return function, which is returning this GeoJSON data. But remember that we are not returning our geodata, of course. So down here we just need to check and return the geodata. So down here we just need to have an if statement. So we need to say if we don't have geodata like this, so if we don't have geodata, then we just return null. So we just say return null like this. So if there is geodata, of course we have it, then we can return the GeoJSON, and if we don't have, then we just return it as null. So that is what this if check is doing here. So if we have geodata, then we return this GeoJSON, and if we don't have, then we just return a null. So let's save this and see if there is anything. And yes, you can see that we got our map here. So these are our GeoJSON data. So we can see that we have transformed from just the basic GeoJSON that we fetched from the API in the backend, and now we can be able to display the boundaries or the geometry as it appears on a map. Now you can see that we are supposed now to go ahead and have some click functionality, so that if we click on a map, we can still display some information on this map. So now we need also to define some colors inside this. So this means that we need to define specific color for each of the crime type or each of the county to display its own cases, since we have different cases. If we just go to our GeoJSON file here, and if I scroll down, of course it is quite long, but I can minimize these coordinates. But then if I minimize the coordinates, you can see we have the properties here, and the first property is the county, which is I can zoom in so that you guys can see like this. Oops, this is quite big. You can see that this one here, we have the properties. So we have county as this one, we have the homicide, we have drugs, we have robbery, we have assault, and we have breaking. So remember, this is the data that we fetched back in our index.js. You remember this one here. So this is what we are getting from our API in the backend. So here, or from our database, I mean. Now you can see that we have these properties. This means that we need to click on a map, and if we click on a map, we need to kind of return this information. So that is the first thing that we can do with this data. Another thing is that we want to define the colors based on these properties that we have. So if it is homicide, which has 81 cases, robbery, which has 81 cases, breaking, which also has 81 cases, we need to have a color that represents this. Okay, let's look at this. You can see that this is a different county here, and you can see that homicide is at 25, drugs is 27, robbery is 7, assault is 109, and breaking is 88 cases. So if this is the data, of course, so we need to define colors based on this data, so that if it is this county called Bomet here and homicide is 25, it should have a color which will be also represented in our legend. Same to this county, which is Baringo here. If it has homicide 81 cases, then we also need to define a different color for this. So this is what I'm just trying to explain, and we can go ahead to our code, and then we need to create a new file inside the source file. We need to create a new file and call these utils. So here we just create a new folder here and call these utils, which are the utilities. Then inside the utils, we need to create a new file called we need to get color.js. So just inside this file, create another one and call this get color.js. So it's supposed to be JS and not JSX, because these are just properties. So then inside this get color function or get color file, we just need to have a function. So we need to say export function, and this function is get color. So get color like this, and we need to pass in a value, and remember the value will represent the crime type. So inside this we can pass in value, or you can say crime type and then just say if crime is above this, crime is above this. So we are just going to write some if statements, or you can use a switch statement, which is also okay. But for our case, we're just going to use if statement. So inside this, we are just going to say return. We need to return a value which is greater than 1,000. So greater than 1,000 like this. So if it is greater than 1,000, it will have color. Then if it is not above 1,000, then we can get some colors. So here we just need to define colors. So you can say hashtag 80,000 like this, and then we get to 6. Okay, so this would be the first case. Then that would be the first case, and now we can also say the value is we can click on enter here and say now if the value is above 500, since that the other one was above 1,000. So if it is above 500, we can have this color here, which is BD 0026. Okay, so I can just save this, and then if that's the case, we can also have a value of above 200, or if above 200, we get that color, which is E31A1C like that. Okay, so I can just click on tab like this, and then here we just say if the value is above 200, we have this color. If the value is above 100, we have FC4E2A like that. And if it is above 50, then we say the color should be FD8D3C. Then if it is above 20, then we have this color FEB2 and 4C. Okay, and then if it is above 10, then we can use this color else, which means there is no, this one means that there is no data value. So I just need to have this comment here, and we say no data. So if there is no data, then we just display this color. Then click on save, and then we have our function inside the get.js file. Now we need to go back to counties, county layers, and then instead of using this color here, you can just comment this and say fill color. You can say fill color, and this is going to be equal to now the color that we have just defined in the get.js function. So this one is that we just need to say get color, and get color, of course, it's a function that we pass in now the value of each feature. So now here we need to say feature, and this feature is what we are going to use in here. So can you say feature and then dot properties and then dot crime type. Remember that we already defined the crime type up here as our state. So each crime type will be represented by a color, but that color will also represent the cases of that crime type. So control save this, and then it says that get color is not defined. So we need to get this color from this file. So up here we just need to import. So just say import. We need to import get color from the utils, and then we need to remove this and say get color like this. So get color.js. Okay. So now after this, let's try and see if we have any changes on our map. Then you can see if I refresh this, we get this map here. So refresh again. This is quite zoomed in. We need to go to, I don't know, to a map. We have the zoom level of 7. Let's change to 6. Change this to 6. Control save. And then let's see here. So we have our map here. I need to zoom out to 100 because I'm zoomed into 175. So let's get to 100 like this. Refresh the page. So it becomes 6. Now let's increase this one to 7. Control save. Refresh the page. Yes, so we got this one here. So you can see that we have the fill opacity to 0.5, and we can, let's apply 0 and see what will happen. So 0 is not there. So it means we need to increase to let's say 9. So 0.9. And let's see what will happen. Yes, so we got these colors here. We can play around with 0.7. Yeah, so we have 0.7, and this is what it represents. So also to remind you that these colors are we are getting these colors from the cases of the homicide, if I'm not wrong. If we go back to the crime context, you can see that our state here, the crime type default is homicide. So if we change this to something like let's say assault, like this, I hope the spelling is correct. Yes, now you can see that this is assault. And we can also change this to drugs. So if we change this to drugs, control save, we are supposed to see a different kind of map. So if I refresh this, you can see we got quite a different map. Okay, so let's just go back to homicide like this, and then refresh the map. Yes, so you can see that we have it here. So this is what we are going to do next. We are going to now have a select functionality here that will help us to select the type of crime instead of using our code, like we need to change from homicide to drugs to whatever the crime type is. So we are going to use a selector here to select the type of crime that we want to visualize, and then this will also apply here to the legend. Okay, so that means that we are going to define some cards, get the functionality for the select, and have the one for the legend. Then after this, the next thing is that will be to click on this map, and then we need to display some information here. But of course we can still do that before we move on. So inside our county layers, remember that we didn't define the functionality for clicking on a map. So inside the county layers, we can still go ahead and implement that before moving on to the next. So here you just need to say const on each feature, on each feature like this, on each feature, and then inside this we need to get the feature and the layer. Okay, then we need to create a function, and this we can say layer.on. So we need to have either on hover or on click. So inside this we just need to say layer.on mouse over. So when you pass your mouse over the polygon, you need to get this information. So this is what we are just saying here. So we need to set layer. So we say layer dot set style, and we need to set style. Of course, we also need to define this state. We didn't define, but we can just move on with it first because we shall use it somewhere. We need to pass in the style, so we can just set style for now, and then we can say the weight can be 5 or 3. Let's change to 3, and then the color we change this to black, and then the fill opacity, we can remove the fill opacity for now. You can just comment because we don't want to change whatever we have already. So outside this, we now go ahead and just say layer dot bring to front. Okay, so when you hover over the map, you get this kind of something moving towards you. That is what this functionality does. So now after this, still inside the function, we need to say mouse out, and the mouse out, we are going to get the layer. We set the layer, and instead of passing in this, you can just remove them here and say layer.set style, and we pass inside this. We can now get the style. So instead of having this one here, we just pass in the style that we had defined. So we say the style, and this style will take in the type of the feature that we are doing. So we say mouse out, then it means we are releasing that mouse to the next thing. Okay, so if we do this and go down here to our GeoJSON component, we can pass in on each feature like this, and then just say on each feature like this. So control save. Now if you go to our map, you can see when we hover over it, we change the color from that color to a black color that we defined. Okay, so the on click is not there because we have not defined, which we are just going to do it in a second. But you can see the hover has applied, so we are not getting any information back. We just want to hover over this, and this one will tell us that we are on this map. Now let us implement the on click. So still inside the on each feature function, after the mouse out, we now need to go down here and then have the click. So we say layer.on click like this, and this on click is going to also be a function that will, now when we click on it, we select a county, and we select the county, and the county will bring us the properties. So we don't need to get the name of the county, but we just want to get all the properties back. And then after this, we can now say map. Remember that we already defined our map. That's why we are getting this warning down here. If you just look at this, you can see it says that map is assigned value but is never used. So this, we need now to use this map while clicking on the function. So now inside this on click function down here, we now go ahead and just say map dot fit bounds like this, and then inside this fit bounds, we need to pass in our layer, which is the boundary of each polygon, and then we say dot get bounds. So get bounds like this, get bounds, need to remove one. So get bounds, and remember this is a function that comes from leaflet, from React Leaflet. Then so after this, outside here, we need now to have the properties. So we can say padding is going to be a list of pixels. So we can say 50 by 50 or 30 by 30, whatever you would like to use. So based on the size, so I can use 30, and then the maximum zoom, we can have a max zoom of you can say something like 19. So we can zoom in up to 19 times, or 12 or 15, depending on what you would like to get. So after this, of course, we need now to go outside this function here, and we just say layer. We need to call the layer, so we say layer dot bind tooltip. So whether we are clicking or hovering over the map, we still need to get this tooltip here. So that's why we have not said that on click and we get the tooltip. So we say bind tooltip, and then this tooltip is going to take in the feature properties and the name of the county. Okay, like this. here. So then control save, and then you can see that we have the bind tooltip, which only brings us with the name of the county. Now if you go to the map and refresh the page, now when we hover over this, you can see that we get the name of the county. Still, if you want to get other properties, you can still pass them here, but we're not going to do that because I just don't want to do that for this project. But you have seen how to get this. Let's see if we click on any. So if we click on a function, it says the selected county is not a function, which is quite good. So this is what we are going to implement next. So let's move on with the project. Now you see that here when we click on a map, it says that set selected county or selected county is not a function, which is true, of course. So now if you go to your crime API here, or not the crime context, you will realize that we have the selected county and set selected county. So remember, this is a variable and this is the function. So we need to say set selected county instead of selected county. So if we go back here, we need to say set selected. So we need to say set selected county to the properties. So let's see if this one works. So control save. And now if we go back to our project, as I said, selected county is not defined. Yeah, so it is not defined because here we also did a mistake. We are supposed to say set selected county from the use crime like this instead of selected county, because this is the function, and here the crime type, of course, is the type of the crime, which is a variable, and we are setting it here. Okay, so now if we go ahead and save this and then go to the browser, refresh the page like this, so we get back our counties with the displayed homicide default crime type. And now if you click on a map, you can see that we fit the bounds to the bounds that we get. Now that we are getting our map displayed and also the colors are being displayed here correctly, we also need to check something on the GeoJSON, because right now if we have the selected county or the selected crime type, we will be still remaining with the color of the previous one, because we have not told React to check the key of the type of the crime. So now we are okay to visualize our map, and if we just refresh the page, you will see that we still get the properties that we actually wanted. So now you can zoom in when you click on the polygon, and you can also, when you hover, you can see that we get the name of that specific county. So to force React to recreate the GeoJSON whenever the crime type is selected or changed, we just need to go here to GeoJSON and define the key. So at the beginning of this, we need to have the key, and the key is supposed to be the crime type. So we just need to get the crime type, so that this will help us to like force React to recreate the GeoJSON whenever the crime type changes. So this one will really play a key role here. So now after this, we need to go ahead inside our keys, inside our source folder here. We need to go ahead and also create some other files, but we already did that inside the components. If I just minimize this, go to source folder like this, inside the components folder, we have the cards, and so inside this card, we need to create a new component that will carry the statistics of this information that we are clicking on the map. So you can see that we can click on the map, but we want to display some dashboard on the map. So this, we need to separate these cards so that it becomes easier for us to manage our components. Now inside the card component or folder, we need to create a new component, and this component is going to be statistical card like this. So statistical card.jsx, because it is a component. And then after this, we just need to create a function, so RAFCE, an arrow function like this. So we have our statistical component created. So now after this, we just need to go ahead and create this component. What we are supposed to do here is that we have different kinds of things that we are supposed to get. First, we need to select like the title of the time of the crime type, and also need to get the children to be displayed in each card. So this is going to be like just a parent card to hold all the information that we want to display in a card. So since that is going to be the case, we just need to import some of the properties here. So we just need to get the title of whatever we shall be displaying, and then the children. So the children will be now the component that will want to use this card. So then inside this return function, we just need to have a div, and this div is going to get the, let's have some h3 tag here, and this is going to just get the title. So we pass in the title like this, and we need also to have another div. So let's get another div inside this div, and this div is going to be just type div. So let's do this. So down here, I'm just going to say create a div as usual. So we have a div, and this div is supposed to now pass in the children since we have the title. So the title is going to be dynamic. That's why we don't want to define the title by ourselves. And then we have the children. It will now be the whole component that is supposed to get to use this card. Then we also need to have the classes. So inside the return function here, the parent div need to have a class name. So let's get the class name. So the class name is going to be statistical card, and then the heading also supposed to have a class name, and the class name is going to be the title. So statistical card dash title, like this, like that. And then the children, so the component itself will also have the class name, and the class name will be the statistical card dash content, and we have statistical card title and the card itself. So this is what we just need to do in this component. And so after this, we now need to go ahead inside the parent component, which is the dashboard. So we need to go to the dashboard and then import the statistical card. But before we proceed, we need to have the legend before moving on with the statistical cards. But before that, you can realize there in my terminal, it says that use effect is defined but never used, so which is in the county layer. So now if we go to county layer here, they say that we have defined the use state, but we are not using it on line 1. So use state is here, but it's never used, but we have the use state. I don't know why it is saying that, but anyway, if we go to a crime context, it says that React hook use memo does nothing when called with only one argument. Did you forget to pass an array of dependencies? We actually forgot to do that. So outside this use memo function, inside the crime context, we need to have a comma here and pass in the array, the crime type, and the selected county like this. So this is the only thing that we forgot. But then we still have county layer use state is defined but never used. County layer.jsx. We have the use state supposed to be use state instead of React, because we're already getting this from React. So if we do this and go back to our map, you can see it says that the webpack compiled successfully. Now if we go to the map here and refresh the page, we still need to get the same functionalities. Now if we click on this, you can see the navigation. You can click on this county, you click on this county, and everything is working fine. So now the next thing is that we need to develop a legend that will display those colors, because right now we don't know what those values represent for each color. So now to do this, we just need to go back to our map folder and create the file for the legend. So you can say map legend.jsx like this, click on enter, and since this is going to be a component, we are going to define a component, so RAFCE like this. Then we get our legend component. So remember that this legend is supposed to be imported inside the dashboard. So we need to go to the dashboard. Remember, initially we had map inside our app.js, but we removed that and passed it inside the dashboard. So if you go to the dashboard, you realize that we have map component here. And at the beginning, I had told you that we are going to import almost everything inside our dashboard, since now our dashboard will become the parent. Down here, we just need to have our legend. So map legend from container, from components, I mean. like this, and then we shall be okay to proceed with the component. Now if I refresh the page and scroll down, you can see that we have the map legend down here, but we need to put this legend inside the map. So that is what we are just going to do. So let's proceed with the code. Inside the legend, map legend, of course we can close this statistical file because we are going to use it somewhere else. Now let's proceed with the map legend, and we need to note down here that our map legend is using the crime type, which comes from the use crime inside our context, which is the crime context. And we also need to use the colors, which comes from the utilities and then the colors. So that means that up here we just need to define the crime type. So we need to say const crime type, which we are going to restructure here. Crime type comes from use crime, and this use crime supposed to come from the crime context. So here you just need to say import use crime from the crime context. Then after this, we need now to define the legend. So down here, we just need to say const legend items, which is going to be a list of items like this. Then inside this legend, we need now to have the properties as objects. So we need to have the label as our first property. And then we need to say from 0 to, let's say, 10, as we had defined. We need to get the value of this type, and this is going to be the value of 5. So this is how we are going to define the colors. So we can do this and just tab, and then the next label will be from 10 to 20. So we can say from 10 to 20 is going to be, the value is going to be 15, and then from 20 to 50, so we can say 20 to 50, the value is going to be 35. So you can say 35 like this. Then from 51 or 50, from 50 to 100, the value is going to be 75. So this is not static. Of course, you can choose whatever the values that you want to range from. You can range from 0 to 10, 11 to 20, whatever the values that you want to choose, depending on what the legend you want to have. So since I just want to have 50 to 100, 20 to 50 like this, you can still do based on your interests. So then here we also need to get from 100 to 200 like this. And then we can duplicate this several times. So from 200 to 500, 200 to 500, then from 500 to 1000 to 1000 like this. And then we can say 1000 plus. So we can duplicate the last one and say that we just want to get to have our legend display 1000 plus. The value is going to be 1000. So if we have the crime case 1000 cases, then it will display this color. But if it is between 500 to 1000, then we just say it should be around 750. And then for 200 to 500, we can use 350. And then from 100 to 200, we can use 150, which is like the average of the values. So since we have this one here, we need to go ahead and define now the legend inside our map, inside our return function. So instead of just having this one here, inside this div, we can create some tags, some h4 here, and just say inside this, we need just to pass the crime type. So you can just say crime type, since it is going to be dynamic as we change the selected value. And then we can just say dot to uppercase like this. So the crime type is going to be the crime type, and we get this to uppercase, and uppercase is a function, so we just need to pass in the function like this. So after this, we need also to get the colors. We also need to get the color from the utilities. So up here, we're just going to say import. We need to import colors from the utilities. And so down here, we just need to define the class names for this div. So the parent div, of course, is the legend. So we need to say class name is going to be the legend. So the legend like this. And then after this, we need to have another H4. So have another H4 here. And this H4 is going to be now the cases, like the cases we need to define. So ensure that you are writing the tag correct. So here we just need to say cases like this. And then remember, this is the legend. So down here we just need to define our legend items. So we need to say legend items dot map. We map through all the items like this. So we say item, and then the item with the index, so you can pass in the index like this. And then the index, after the index, now we need to get the div. So inside this we can have a div, and this div, so we need to write a div. I don't know why it is not auto suggesting the div. So we need to have the div like this. So since we have this, and this one, we are supposed also to have another parenthesis here. We are mapping all the items inside this legend items and assign them the values. So inside this div we need to have a class name. So just have a class name, and the class name of course is going to be the legend item like this. And then inside this legend, inside this div, we need to pass in the key, and the key is going to be the index of the item. Okay, so after this, now inside this we need to get the I tags. So we can pass in an I tag which will be an italic. So we need to get this correct. So this is a tag like this. And then inside this tag we just need to this one's supposed to be self-closing, so we need to self-close this tag here. And then inside this we need now to get the styles. So we say style, and the style of course is going to be the background color. We can have background color, and the color is going to be get color like this, which is a function that takes the item dot the value. Remember, we have the values selected. Okay, so then after this we need to have a span item or tag. So we need to say span, and the span of course is going to take the label of that item. So you can see that we have the label here which is 0 to 10, and the value is 5. So this is what we are trying to define here. This is how our legend will look like, of course, at the end of it all. Then after this legend items, we need now to go ahead and define also the div, and have some div here. And this div is going to have a class name. The class name is going to be the legend item again. So we just say legend, and then inside this item we need to have another I tag. So we need to define a self-closing I tag like this. And then we say style is going to have background color, and the color is going to be this color here. So hashtag D9 D9. So that will be the color. And then lastly we need to also get the span, and this span will say we actually have no data here. So control save this. So since we have already imported the legend inside the dashboard, we expect to see the legend on our map. So now if we go ahead and refresh the page, we get this one here, and now if we scroll down we get our legend which is down there instead of appearing on top of the map. So after this we just need to get now the styles inside our dashboard. So we need to go to dashboard CSS. Inside our dashboard, where is it? Dashboard CSS here, and define the dashboard CSS. So now if you just go to dashboard here and then define your dashboard class. In CSS we define the classes that we have defined in the HTML with a dot. Then we say dashboard, and this dashboard is going to have the position of relative, and after this we need to get the width of this dashboard, which will be 100%, and then the height is going to be 100 view height. If you save this and try to preview, you can see that we still get it here. Then the next thing is that we need to go ahead and style the dashboard and our leaflet container. So here we just need to say dot dashboard, and then we say dot leaflet dash container, leaflet container, and then inside this we need to get the width and height as 100%. Okay, so now if we do this, let's try to refresh the page. We still can't get that to appear on top of the map. So the next thing is that we need to also go ahead and have the sidebar, which is not yet defined. So let's try to define the legend first. So here we just need to get the legend. So class of legend, supposed to be curly brace, and then position is going to be absolute, and then the bottom will have 20 pixels instead of 30. We can use 20. And then the next one is going to be left 45. Left is going to be 45 pixels. So say 45 pixels. The z index is going to be 1000. So z index 1000. And then the background is going to be the white color like this. And then we need also to get the padding, and padding is going to be 12 pixels. So we need to have 12 pixels on top and bottom, and also 12 pixels. So 12 pixels on top and right, and 12 pixels on bottom and the left. So 12 pixels like this. So after this, we now need to get the border radius. So border radius, we can say something like 8 pixels. And then we need also to have a box shadow. So box does shadow like this, and this is going to have 0 pixels, 2 pixels, and 10 pixels. And then we have an RGBA value with an alpha of 0.2. Control save this. Then lastly, we need to have the minimum width. Mean width should be something like let's say 140 pixels. Okay, so after we've done this, let's preview and see if there is any change. So let's refresh this. We still can't move it here. Anyway, let's proceed with now the legend items. So down here we need to go to the H4. We need to have our legend H4 here, and this is going to have a margin of 10 pixels, 10 pixels like this. And the font weight, so we can have the font weight. The font weight, instead of bold, we can use something like 600. And then we also need to have the font size. The font size is going to be, we can say 14 pixels. And then lastly, we can text transform this. So we can say text dash transform, and then we can either use uppercase or capitalize. So we can just say capitalize to get the first letter capitalized. Then after this, we now need to go ahead and also get the legend item. So legend dash item like this. And then we need to display flex. We need to have align items at the center. We need to have the margin bottom of 6 pixels. We need to also get the gap in between these, and we can say 8 pixels. And then we need to also get the white spaces. We can say no wrap, so that we keep them between 50 to 100 on one line. And then we just say font size will be 13 pixels. So we save this. And then lastly, we need to also get the, the legend item. So dot legend item, and the last child margin bottom should be 0. And then we move on to now the legend item with the I tag. So we can say legend item, legend dash item, and then we get our I tag, and we say this one is going to have a width of 18 pixels, height of 18 pixels, border radius of 3 pixels. So this one is going to be 3 pixels. And then we can also get the border, and the border can have 1 pixel solid, of either this color, or you can change to something like CCC, like this. And then lastly, we can get the flex shrink. So we say flex shrink to something like 0, so it's not going to shrink at any moment. And then lastly, of course, we need now to get the span. So we need to say dot legend item span, and here we just say white spaces, no wrap. So we just say white dash space and we say no wrap. Okay, so after this, of course, right now we still see them here because we have not imported the styles inside our dashboard. So what we need to do is go to the dashboard here and then import the CSS. So we say import import/dashboard.css. Okay, so this is how it's supposed to be inside our legend, inside our dashboard. Now let's try to preview this and refresh the page. Now you can see that we got this homicide selected, which is the default, and the cases from 0 to 10, from 10 to 20, 20 to 50, 50 to 100. Okay, so it looks like we need to change the padding because this padding is not appearing well. So where is it? The padding of the supposed to be of the legend itself. So padding is 12 pixels. Let me confirm for my finished project. So it is supposed to be 12 pixels and 16 pixels like this. Okay, so now let's preview, refresh the page. We still can't see it yet. So 12 pixels, 16 pixels, there is no comma there, just remove that. Okay, yeah, now we got it correct. Even if I refresh the page, I get my data from the API, which comes from the database. And then here we get the homicide, and the cases are as shown below. So we have 0 to 10, 10, 20, 50, and so on and so forth. I think we can just change this for instead of using this, we can say from 11 to 20, from 21 to 50, from 51, from 101, from 201, from 501, and 1,000 plus, and 1,000 plus. Okay, so save this, and then you can see that also our legend changes from 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 50, 51 to 100, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now the next thing is we are going to now create the filter so that we can be able to filter out the type of the crime. So whether it is homicide, whether it is drugs, assault, breakings, and so on. And this will also be applied here on the map. So let's move on with that type of functionality. Now inside the filters folder, which is in the components folder, we now need to go ahead and create a new file, which is the crime selector, and this is where we are going to select the type of crimes. So here I'm just going to say crime selector.jsx. So crime selector.jsx like this. And then inside this, we need to create a function component, so RAFCE, and then you can see that we have the crime selector like this. So this one is supposed to be imported also inside the dashboard. So we just need to go to the dashboard like this, and then in between this map, we need to have a div. So we can have a div inside this, and this div is where we are going to get now our crime selector. So we need to say crime selector like this, and then import from the crime selector components. Of course, we also need to have this map inside the dashboard, which is okay. And now we can just move on with creating the file or writing the code. Now inside the crime selector, we need to go ahead and also get the crime, the type of the crime from use crime, which comes from the crime context. So down here, we just need to say const, and then we need to get the crime type. So say crime type and set crime type to use crime. And this use crime is supposed to come from the context. So use crime, which comes from the context and crime context. Now after this, the next thing is that we just need to have now the selector. So selector is supposed to be a tag. So in here, we just need to say select supposed to be a component. So select like this, which is supposed to be selector. let me have this return function in with the parentheses. So we need to say select, and then inside the select we need to have now options. So we need to have option, so option, and then let us write option correctly. After this we just need to have salt. We can have drags, so just tab. So this one is supposed to be salt. We have a salt, we have breakings, so we can say breaking, breaking like this, and also here we just need to write breaking like this. So we have, these are 4. We need to have another one, which is the drags. So here we just need to duplicate this one more time and then change this from drags to drags like this, and also this one to drags like this. Okay, so this is our selector option. Now inside this we need to have the class here, and this we need to get the value from the crime type. Since we have selected, you can see they say that these things are noted there, so we need to of course have the crime type, and then when we change from one crime type to the other, we set the value. So I'm just going to tab on this, and then we can go ahead. So we have the value as homicide, robbery, breakings, drugs, and so on and so forth. This is our crime selector. And so now we just need to change this from uppercase to lowercase. So we need to have select, and this one is also supposed to be the option with lowercase like this. So we also need to change this option to lowercase. So just remove this and type in option like this, click on enter or save, and then we also need to change the closing tag for select. Okay, so now if we go to our map here, refresh the page, you can see that we have the selector down here. So if I click on this, you can see we have assault. So if I change this, you see it is already even working out. So we change to assault, and we can also change to breaking. You can see the map also changes, and we can also change to drags. Yes, and it is working fine. So now the next thing is that we are supposed now to kind of style this. So let's go to down here. We need now to go to charts. Of course, we need to go to the dashboard. Let's just go to the dashboard first and try to style this. So inside our dashboard CSS, we need to now style now before styling this, we need to go back to the dashboard, and you can see that we have our crime selector here. Since it is appearing below the map, just as we have aligned it, you can see that if we scroll down here, you can see we have the drags or the selector down there. So you need to go back here to the crime selector and then have the class name. So class name, and then we can just say, instead of crime selector, we can change this to something like top controls like this. So this is the class that we are going to use inside the dashboard CSS to style this selector. So now here we just need to say top dash controls like this, and we now begin writing the classes inside the CSS file. So now we are just going to say that we need to have these classes. So we need to have the position as absolute. The top is 20, left is 50. We can say something like 45 pixels, so 45 pixels. And then we need to also have the background color. So we need to have the background to the white color, and the padding we need to say 12 and 18 pixels. And then we also have the z index as 1000, and then the display is going to be on flex. We can remove the display for now, and then also the gap, we need to remove this, but we need to get the border radius. So we need to say border radius to something like 8 pixels, and the box shadow to 0 pixels, 10 pixels, and value of 0.25. This is the alpha value at 0.25. So now if I click on save and I go back to this, you can see that we got our selector at the top of our map here. So now if you click on this one and change to assault, you see that we have this. And remember also, when we refresh the page, I told you that homicide is the default crime type, which is appearing here. And so if I click on this, I can select assault like this, and you can see the color also changes, and we can go ahead and still click on this. So if again I go to robbery, you can see what it changes, and so on and so forth. I want to go back to the county layer down here. I just want to show you something. So let's assume that we missed out the key and save. So if you comment the key here and go back to your project, now let me refresh the page like this. You can see that we have this color here for homicide. Now let me change to assault. You can see the color changes to deep red. Now, but if I hover over any of these polygons, you can see that the color changes back to the default, which is homicide. Now if I go to robbery again, you can see here, and if I hover over any polygon and move out, you can see the color is still changing back to homicide. So this is where we say that we force React to respond to the key of this. So whenever we change the selected crime type, it also updates with the type of the crime on the map. So this is why we have the key there. So now if I change to assault, and you can see when we move over this, the color remains the same. So now the next things, we are supposed to now move on to the charts and create those charts which will appear here on the right. So we need to have like the dashboard showing the different kinds of charts. So we shall have a pie chart and also a bar chart. So that's what we are going to do in just a minute. Now moving forward, we need to go to our charts folder and create the files that we use to define now the bar chart and also the pie chart or the donut chart. So now if I go to charts here and then create a new file and call this crime bar chart .jsx. So crime bar chart.jsx like this. They need to be crime, and then I need to create another one which is crime pie chart.jsx. Now I go to bar chart here and create a function, so rafce like this, and then I go to pie chart and also create rafce like this. So we have two components for pie chart and the bar charts. So now we need to go to the dashboard. Remember that everything now goes to dashboard. So I'm just going to the dashboard here. So I can scroll this like this and then go to dashboard. Then inside the dashboard here below the crime selector, we're just going to pass in or import the components. So down here we just need to say crime, supposed to be crime bar chart. Need to create it as a component, so we can say crime bar chart like this. Click on enter, and then this will auto import from the components charts and then crime bar chart like this. And then we also need to import the crime pie chart like this. And then also this one is going to import from the charts and then the pie chart. So after this, the next thing is that we need to wrap this inside sidebar, because for example right now if you go to our map, we shall only see them appearing below like this. So we need to wrap them inside one parent div, which we shall style in the dashboard CSS, so that it appears to be well on the map. So now inside this dashboard, we just need to have a div. So here I'm just going to say div, and this div is going to be the parent div for all this. So I select this and I move them inside this div. Then I can just provide a class name here and say the class name of this is going to be something like sidebar, since it will be on the side of the map. So we can say this is sidebar like this. So then we can even go ahead and just style it for now. So if I scroll down here and just say dot sidebar, look like this. And then we need to define now the classes for this sidebar. So I can say position is absolute, and then top is 10. So we can say top is 10 pixels, 10 pixels like this. And then we also need to have right as 20 pixels. So right is going to be 20 pixels. And next we can define the width of this. So just let's have a width of 300, or we can say something like 390, so that at least it becomes quite bigger. And the next one is the max height. So here we need to minimize this height. So we can say max height something like 300, and we can calculate, of course, based on the information that we need to get. So of course, in CSS, we also have the calculate function. So we can say calculate, and we take 100 view height, and then we minus something like 110 pixels. Okay. And then we can also have the overflow as hidden. So overflow Y should be auto, of course. And then the background, we need to get it to white. And then of course we need also to have a padding of 20 pixels like this. And then we also need to have a border radius of something like 10 pixels. So we can say 10 pixels. And then we need to also have a box shadow of 0 pixels, 2 pixels. I think we can say 4 pixels here. We can define 4 pixels. Here we can change something like 16 pixels. And then it's supposed to be 0.5 alpha value. So of course, also need to have the z index. So we can say z index to 1000, and then we can try to preview this and see how it looks like. So let's go back to our project, refresh the page, and you will see that we have the crime bar chart, and we also have the pie chart. So this is how it is appearing, and it looks very nice. Now the next thing is that we need now to go ahead and define now the utilities for each of the component. Now instead of just writing everything inside one component, we can go ahead and also define the utilities. So inside the charts here, we can have the charts utilities.js. So inside the charts here, we can define this and say chart utilities or utils.js like this. Now inside the utilities is where we are going to define everything that we want, how we want our chart to appear, and then we shall just import that to these components. So now the first thing is that we need to create this as a component, of course. So we can just say something like RAFCE, and then inside this we need to get the colors, of course. Remember, the colors are the ones we are going to use to differentiate these bar graphs or bar charts, and also the pie chart. Anyway, let's just proceed first. So inside these utilities, of course, we are going to say, let us not use the component way. Let us just write a function. So export function, and we can call this build bar chart. So build bar chart like this, data. Okay. And then this is a function, and this function is going to look like this. So we can say that this is for the bar chart. Up here, we can have a comment and say bar chart data like this. And then inside the function, now we go ahead and define the properties that we want to get. So we can say if there is no geodata like this, we are just going to dot features, of course, dot features. If there is no geodata dot features, we just return an empty array like that. And then we can go ahead and now say return. If the data is available, we can return the geodata like this, dot features dot map, and this is going to take in the feature. So we map through all the features like this, and then we define all the properties inside. So now we have the feature there. I think I just need to remove this one, and this is supposed to be outside this, so we can close this outside like this. So now inside this function, we go ahead and say we need to get the county and the county is going to be the feature.properties.county, and we also need to get the values, which is the value. So it's supposed to be value like this, and the value is going to take the features as numbers. So instead of having this auto generate for us, we're just going to say we need to get a number, and this number is going to be feature.properties.crime, or it will be 0. Then last one is supposed to be the color, and the color of course supposed to come from colors. So we can say if the color supposed to be, it's not supposed to be a number, just a color. So we need to save this, and of course this is defined, so we don't need to check if it is 0 or not. So get color, and the color is supposed to come from our colors. So up here we need now to import this from color. So we need to say import get color from utils get color like this. So now we have geodata here, the features.map the feature through the county. We can get the county name, we also get the value as a number, and then we get the colors from the get color. Okay, so after this we just need to say sort, and this is a function. Then we sort the colors, and then we of course we minus from the previous one to get the value that's supposed to be the next one. Then of course this one we can call slice, and slice we can slice between 0 and 10. So this one is supposed to get the top 10 counties. Yeah, so we shall take the value of B and minus that from we minus F from B, and then we slice that to get now the values and show us which one is the top county, which is the second, third, the fourth, and the up to the last one. So after this we now go ahead and also get the pie chart. So here we can say pie chart data like this, and we need to also export the function. So define export function build pie chart data, and for this of course we also need to check now the selected county here. So here we are not going to use the geodata, here we just need to select the county. So when we select the county, it should update us on the pie chart. So here I'm just going to say if not selected county like this, we need to just return null like this. So control save this, and of course we need to close the function. So if it is not selected county, then we return null, otherwise we are going to return the characteristics of the pie chart. So here we need to get now to return, so we just say return. We need now to return, and we are going to return a list of objects, and here we need to get now the name, and this is supposed to be name, and the name of that type of crime, and the value will be now the selected county dot that value. Then also get the colors. So here I'm just going to say to tab on this, and then instead of doing this, we just going to say we're only going to get the values and not the color, because we have already defined the color above. So I'm just going to delete this on each type of crime that we have here. So I'm just going to remove this and also remove this. So here we have the breakings, we have the drugs, we have robbery, assault, and we also have the homicide, and all of them are going to be type of number. So like this. So after this, now the next thing is that we need to go to now define this inside our bar chart and the pie chart. So for now I can just close this one here because I want to get the space. So I'm just going to close some of the files. Now inside the crime bar chart here is where we're going now to define to write almost every code for our pie chart. So we already installed the Recharts. If you go to package.json here, you realize that we already have the Recharts, and this is what we are going to use now to get the data from the utilities and define that inside the bar chart. Okay, so to move forward, we are just going to have the selected crime come from the use crime, which is of course coming from the context. So down here we just saying to say const crime type. So we say crime type, and this is coming from the use crime. And of course, remember use crime, we need to import use crime from the context API. After that, we also need to have to set geodata. So up here, we just need to write another state. So we can say const geodata, set geodata, and this is supposed to, instead of saying react.use state, we can just import use state from React up here. So we just say use state instead of repeating ourselves with React dot. If you don't want to pass it here, you can just say React dot use state. That means you will still have imported that. Okay, so you have the crime type, which is coming from use crime, and then the next one is now we need to get the use effect and pass in the counties and the geodata and also console some error. So now down here we just need to go ahead and use effect. So use effect, and the use effect of course is going to be we are going to get the counties. So we say get counties dot then set geodata to, and then console that. So get counties of course is coming from the county layers, and that means that we need also to import that. But of course it is connected with the crime API. So up here we just need to say import get counties from crime API, and we also need to import the utilities. So up here you can just say, before that we need to go ahead and build the bar chart. So now, since we have our use effect, which we also need to track the variables, and in here we just pass an empty list of variables. So we need to import use effect from React. So use effect from React so that it stops complaining up here. Okay, so now the next thing is that we need now to define our chart data using the bar chart. So after this, we just need to say const chart data is equal to use memo like this. Oops, we need to get use memo and then create a callback function. Then inside here we just need to say, of course we need to pass in the geodata, the file. So up here before this one, I'm just going to remove this first, and then we need to say build chart data like this. So we're going to build this and save. So this one shows us that we need to use memo. So we tell React to remember this from the crime API and get this from the utilities, which is coming from the utility. So we need to import this, of course. So we need to say import build chart data from utilities. So we get this information from the utilities file. So inside the charts, we need to get this bar chart here. So we need to get this information from the utilities. That is what we are doing up here. Now, after this, the next thing is supposed now to get this data to the card. Remember, this is a card. I told you, oops, just remove this. So we have this card here, which we had defined previously. So now down here after the chart data, we need to check and say if there is no chart data, we are just going to return the statistical card. So here I'm just going to say if there is no chart data, we are going to return, we say return, and this return is going now to get our component, which was statistical card, statistical card like this. So remember, this was a component that we had created, and then inside this we're just going to have a div, and this div will now take we'll say loading crime data like so. So control save this, and of course we need to import the statistical card from the statistical card. So up here I'm just going to, let me delete this, right card again. We need to pass in, of course, some classes, but let me import this one first. So up here we need to import the statistical card from the card statistical card. Okay, then it says use memo is not defined. So use memo is supposed to come from the React. So up here this one comes from React, so we need to say use memo like this, and this is going to import that from the use memo. Okay, so then let's proceed. So down here, after the instead of now returning this chart bar, inside the statistical card, we need to get the title. We need to get the title of this and say this is our crime histogram. So we can say crime histogram instead of crime bar chart. So this one you can say crime histogram like this. So control save, and then of course we also need to have this div with a class name. So have a class name, and the class name is going to be chart empty. So chart dash empty like this. So control save. Now after this, we now need to go ahead inside the return function and then return the statistical card for the selected counties or for the top counties. Now if I just go to the div here, and inside this div, in fact we need to delete this div and just have the return function, and then we can define the statistical card like this, and then we can just close it like this. Then inside this we can define a div, and this div is going to take in some class name. So we have some class name, and also this statistical card is supposed to have a title. So title is going to be now whichever the top counties will be. So we pass in a template string like this and say top counties. So this will be our title, the top counties, and then we can just say to uppercase. So we take that crime and then we just say to uppercase. So if it is the county, if it is Bomet, then it will be Bomet, and the crime type, so it will be whichever the crime type that will appear there, because it is dynamic, but then it will be in uppercase. Okay, so now let's proceed inside the div. Of course we have a class name here, and we need to define this as chart like this, and then inside the div we are going to have the responsive container. So we can say responsive container. So responsive container, and this one should be coming from Recharts. Of course we need to import this from Recharts. Anyway, so here instead of doing this, I'll just go ahead and try to import this first, because it is getting overwhelming. So now up here I'm just going to say import responsive bar chart, bar, x-axis, y-axis, tooltip. We also need to import the cell. So import cell. However, cell is deprecated, but it's just going to use it in this project. We also need to import the Cartesian grid. We say Cartesian grid like this, then control save like that. So down here we need to now have the responsive container and close it like this. Then we go at the end and just have it closed like this. Okay, so now we have the responsive container, which is still now empty. So we shall go ahead and define some of the properties inside. So width is 100% and height should be around let's say 420. So we can say 420 pixels. Okay, now inside the container we are going to define now the bar chart. So we need to say bar chart like this, which is a component from the Recharts. We need to get the data, and the data is going to be the chart data like that. And next we also need to have the layout. So we need to get the layout, and the layout is going to be vertical. So instead of horizontal bars, we're going to have the vertical bars. Then we also need to define the margin, and the margin is going to take in some properties. So we need to have top, and the top will be 10. Top is going to be 10. We need to get the right. Right is going to be 20, and then we can also get left to be 25, and then lastly we can look at the bottom, which is going to be 10. So control save this, and then we need to be able now to define this. So this one says that crime bar chart, an error found on build chart data. We need also to define the Cartesian grid inside this bar chart. So we go here, and then we need to say Cartesian grid, and it's going to have stroke dash array of 3 by 3. Then we can also define the x-axis, which is going to be a type of number, and inside here we also need to have the tick formatter like so, and this is going to take in the value, and the value, say value dot to local string, so local dot to, so we need to have the value like this, and we say value dot to local string like this. Okay, now let's take a look at the y-axis. So we have data key, so is supposed to be the value here, so we just need to say value, and the value is going to be the category. This one's supposed to be the, of course, type is category, so let's begin with category, and then the next one is now the data key. Data key is going to be the county, so county like this. Then we need also to have the width, so county is supposed to be in quotes like this, so we have the county, and then width is going to be 110, so you can say 110 pixels. Then of course the next thing is supposed to be the tooltip, so here we're just going to say tooltip like this. This self-closing also, which is a component. Then this is going to have a formatter, and the formatter is going to also take the value like this, and we say value dot to local string like this. Control save. So this is the bar chart, but then down here we also need to go ahead and define now the bar. So we have the bar chart, yes, but we also need to get the bar. So here we just need to say bar, supposed to be bar like this, and this one's supposed to have a closing and opening tag. Then now inside this we need to also get the data key, a value, and the fill. Do we really need the fill color? Of course the color will be predefined, so we need the radius, and the radius is going to be 0.505. Then also need to get 5 here, and here we need to say 0 like that. Then the bar size is going to be 18 like this. So we have the bar size. We also have the animation duration. So here we can say animation. Of course we can set if it is active, so we can say is active if the animation is active like this, and then we can say now animation duration, and this is going to be 800 milliseconds like this. So control save the bar chart, and now we have the bar here, and this bar is inside the bar chart. Now inside the bar itself we also need to define now the chart data. So here we just need to say chart data.map. We need to map this cell, the entry and the index, and then pass in the cell. Remember the cell is deprecated, but you can check out other properties to use instead of the cell. So the key is going to be the cell, not this one, but the key is going to be the entry.county. So entry.county like this, and the field is going to be entry.color. So control save this, and then we are still inside this bar. The bar chart is there, responsive container in the div, and then you can save. So of course we still have some problems here. It says the module not found, can't resolve utils build chart data. So this is in the app here. Let us just preview this. Now we just need to import this build chart data from chart utilities, so which is the chart. We need to say chart, and we say chart utils. So we are importing this from we are not getting this from utilities, but we are getting this from the ./chart utils like this. So control save, and this one's supposed now to produce something. So this one says that crime type is not defined, line 10. Now let's just go to the chart utils, because now we are getting this error from the chart utils. So let's go to chart utils, and this one says that chart utils, and it says that geodata is not defined. Okay, so up here we just need to go to the chart utils, and then we need to get this from, of course we are getting get color from utilities. We also need to pass in our props here and get the geodata. So we just need to say geodata and the crime type. Then of course after this, also inside the pie chart, we also need to pass in the selected county. So here we can just say selected county like this. Then we save that. The error should be gone for now. Build chart data is not was not found in chart utils. So let's go to chart utils. We have build bar chart. Oops, so we need to go back to crime, and then instead of this we just paste in this one here. It's never used, so we need to copy this and then look for where we have the build bar chart and paste it there. Yes, now this one works. So control save again, and let's preview in our front end. We are supposed to see the bar charts here, so let's refresh this. Okay, it looks like we shall have to style this, so we need to have another CSS file to define or to style them. So inside our charts we need to create a CSS file and call this chart.css. so charts.css, and then inside this we can also define the chart, and we just have the width. Let's just have the width 100% and also the height 100%, like this. We also need to define the chart empty, so we can say chart dash empty. Remember we have this already, and then we can just say height 400 pixels. So we can say height is 400 pixels, like that. And then we can also have display as flex. We can align items to center. We can justify content center. We can use color as can have 777. We can also define the font size to something like 15 pixels, and then we can also have the text align to center, and then padding is 20 pixels, like this. So control save. Now we need to go to chart, the bar chart here, and also import the styles. I don't know why I'm using those styles. Let me go to chart. We need to go to, have a feeling that we need to go to the, now it looks like we are missing out something inside our code, since we get the top counties with homicide. So if you consider here, if we select assault, we actually get the assault here and it shows the top counties. So this means that this text is appearing, but the problem is now the bar chart itself. So now let's go back here. Inside our bar chart, we need to check if this chart data exists. So it's supposed to be chart data dot length. Oops, I forgot this. So make sure you correct this. So chart data dot length. And also if I scroll down, you see here that we have this width. So inside the responsive, remember that we can see these top counties and the crime type that is selected, but inside now the responsive container is where we have the problem, because the height here is supposed to be in calibres. So we need to have calibres here and say 420 like this, and then we control save. Then of course the layout is vertical, and we have the Cartesian grid. So let's preview this. Yes, now we can see that we get the histogram here with its bars displayed, and we can see the top counties with assault. We have Nairobi is the first one, Meru, Nakuru, and all the top 10 counties with the assault. So if we change this to homicide, you see that the counties also change, and you can see that Kilifi, which is down here, this is Kilifi, you can see it has red, it tops in terms of homicide cases. And also if we change to robbery, we see that Nairobi still has the highest number followed closely by Meru. And the cases are also there. You see the name of the county and the value. So we have 256 and 253 cases. And now if I go to breaking, Nakuru tops with 334. And then if I go to drugs, Kiambu tops with 741, which is around here. So if I click, you see we get a nice animation here. Now the remaining thing is the pie chart, which will now be related to the selected county. So now we only have the hover, and if we click on the county, we only get the zoom level back to the map. But we need also to click on this county, and now the pie chart should appear at the bottom of this card. Yes, so let's try to increase the size. So if I scroll down here to the bar chart, the responsiveness, instead of 420, let's say something like 450. Height, of course it will increase the height. Okay, let's retain 420 like this. Control save, and then you can see that we have it there. Anyway, so the next thing is that we need to get the pie chart also working. Now let's close the utilities, because in the utilities we already defined the pie chart. So we are just going to return if the county is selected, and return all this inside a pie chart. Now if we go here to crime pie chart, we only have this component defined, and so inside the crime we also need to import almost the same properties from the Recharts. So we're just going to say import, and we need to import the responsive container. So just going to say responsive container like that from Recharts. I'm also going to import the pie chart. Also going to import the pie. I also need to import the cell and the tooltip like this, and then you also need to import the legend. Remember, a pie chart has a legend. So after this, we now need to go ahead and also get the properties for this pie chart. So first we shall need to import the selected county from the use crime, which will come from the context. Now I'm just going to say const selected county like this. This one is supposed to come from the use crime, and this is going to be imported from the crime context. And then also we need now to define the memo. So const data is equal to use memo, and this will come from React. So you can see it imports from React, and this is going to get this from the build pie chart data like this from utilities, and then we just say selected county. So we pass in the selected county inside our pie chart. Okay, and then we also need to just track this pie chart, this selected county. So we just pass in the variable as selected county like this. Okay, so then down here we just need to check if the selected county exists. Now we just need to say if the selected county does not exist. So we say selected county. If it does not exist, then we return the div. So we just return, and we are returning the statistical card. Okay, so here we just say statistical card like this, and then we just need to close it like so. So here the title, of course, is also going to be the crime distribution. So you can just say title is going to be crime distribution. So you can say crime distribution like that. Okay, and now also we need to go inside this statistical card and have a div, and this div is going to say click I think it is okay. Click on any click a county on the map to view its crime distribution. Yes, so this is going to be the text, and now inside this div we need to have a class name. So class name, and it's going to be chart empty. So chart, we already styled this, so chart dash empty. Control save that, and then after this, if it is not there, of course we are going to return this. If the selected county has been selected, or the county has been selected, we now go ahead and return the statistical card again with the same information. So I can just copy this and remove this div from here, and have the function return the statistical card. But then I'm going to remove this. So remove the title. Of course, now we have returned this, and have the title as a string template with the selected county now. So we say selected county dot the name of that county. Okay, then we can just say crime distribution, crime distribution, like that. So control save, and then we have it there. And so after this, we need to go inside this div. Let us just remove that, and then the class name is going to be now the chart like this. And then inside here we need now to get the responsive container. So we just need to say responsive container and close it like this. Now this responsive container is also going to have the width like this, and the width is going to be 100%, and then the height is going to be 400. So here we can just say 400. This one is supposed to be a percent like this, and then we can just say height, and height is going to be 400. So this one is supposed to be in quotes like that, and that one there. So control save. Okay, so we have this one here. Now inside this responsive container, now we need to call the pie. We need to call the pie, and the pie is going to be closing tag with the pie, so it is not a self-closing component. Inside the pie, we need to get the data keys. So here we need to say data key. Of course, data is supposed to be data first, and then after that we need now to get the data key like that. This is going to be the value, so we can just pass in the value of that data. Then after this, we also need to have the name key, and the name key is going to be the name. So we just say name like that, and then the next one is supposed to be the CY like this, and this is going to be 50%. So 50%, and we also need to get the CX, which will be CX, which will be also 50%. 50% supposed to be in quotes, and also the same as this one. Okay, now the next thing is the outer radius. So this is where you define either a pie chart or a donut chart. So let's have an outer radius of 120, and the inner radius of 40. I'll show you something just in a minute. And then we have the padding angle as 3, and then we shall have the labels. So label is going to be now the percent. We have the percent, and this percent will return the percent, so the string template of the percent of whatever the crime type is. So we need to get the percentage of that crime type, so here or the cases of each crime type. So now we're just going to say we need to have the curly brace here, and then say the percent, whatever the percent is going to be. So the percent, we're going to multiply this, so the value, with 100% like that, and then you can say .2 fixed, and we fix this to like 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places. Okay, so we control save that. So the label is going to be the percent, and the percent will be calculated as the total number of cases divided by that value, and then we multiply by 100. now after this, we just need to go ahead and now have the data inside the pie chart or inside the pie. And so we need to say data dot map, and then the map function, we are going to get the key. So get the key, and the key is going to be entry. So we can say entry dot name, entry dot name, like this. And then we need to have the fill, and this is going to be the colors. So here we're just going to say colors, then we get the index, then we say index modulus colors dot length, like this. So we need to save this. Okay, of course we need to pass in these properties here inside the map. So we need to get the entry and also the index, entry and the index, like this. So here you have the key is equal to, the key is supposed to be inside the cell. So here we first need to pass in the cell. So here we just need to say cell. So the cell, and this cell is a self-closing component. So inside that cell, before we close anything here, we need now to get the cell. Okay, so of course we need to have this one here. So we need to have this one there, and we just need to close our cell with this. But then we also need to close this one like this. Okay, so control save. So we have the cell which closes at the end of this. So we have the cell, we have the key, we have the fill, and inside the fill we have the colors which closes there, and then we got this from our map function. So then after this, we need to go now to the tooltip, which will be now outside this pie. So we need to also get the tooltip, and the tooltip is also self-closing, and it's going to take the formatter like this, and the formatter is going to be now the value. So we say value, and then we say we have a callback that says value dot to local string, like this, which is a function. And then the next one is now the legend. So we need to get the legend like this, which is also self-closing component. So legend, and inside the legend we are just going to pass in the property. So we need to get this legend as vertical align, and then we say bottom like this. And then lastly we need to get the height. So height is going to be now 36. So control save this, and let's preview and see what is happening. Let's confirm. So colors is not defined. Okay, we need to define these colors, which I forgot to define up here. So we need to go inside outside our export function. So up here we need to say const colors is equal to, then this one is a list of colors. So the first color is supposed to be this type of color here. So hashtag D7 3027, and then the next one is going to also be this type of color, which is FC8. So F let me go with lowercase FC8 D59, and then the next color is going to be FEE, and then you have 08B. Okay, and then the next color is going to be hashtag 91B FDB. The next one is going to be hashtag 457 5B4, like this. So control save, and then we are supposed to have the colors. It says pie chart is defined but never used. Okay, let us see where we are supposed to use the pie chart. So we are supposed to, everything's supposed to be inside the pie chart here. So this pie, after the responsive, we are supposed to have the pie chart. So up here we just need to say pie chart and have it close. Then we can cut everything up to there, and move it inside the pie chart. Okay, so Control save, and now you can see the Webpack has compiled successfully. Okay, so let us preview and see what is happening. So refresh the page, and you can see here it says that click a county on the map to view its crime distribution. So now let's try to click on this county here. We have clicked the county, but nothing is happening. So let's just confirm what could be now the issue here. Now I'm just realizing that this one is supposed to be a function, but we forgot to have the parentheses. Let us see. So click on this one to refresh the page. Now you can see it says click a county on the map to view its crime distribution. And now if you click on this county here, you can see that we get the pie chart here, and it has the assault, the breaking, the drugs, and we also have the homicide and the robbery. And now we also have the percentage, which is 37.50%. And it doesn't look quite good, but you can see that we have selected this county. If we click on this, you can see this is a Turkana County, and if we click on this one becomes Meru. But also we still have our homicide displayed. So if we again select to robbery, this one also says top 10 counties, top counties robbery can have this. And I think we can even change that title to say something like top 10, right? So where is it? Top counties is here. We can say top 10, top 10 counties. So Control save there, and you can see we have top 10 counties with robbery cases, and we also have the top 10 counties with the breakings. Okay, but now you can see that you can realize that even the histogram is changing, right? And if you click on any of the polygon or the county, the selected county, you realize that we have the pie chart displaying the data. So the black ones are the drugs, which for this county, which is Trans Nzoia, the drugs, we have 62 cases, and then the largest is 37%, which is the assault. And you can see we also have some pop-up or tooltip that shows that actually this is the assault. Now just look at the radius here. You can see the radius as we define the inner radius. So the outer radius was the outer radius is this one. So from here to the out of the circumference is the outer radius, and the inner radius is this. So the inner radius can also still be 0 if you want to have the pie chart as well as what we normally have as pie charts. Okay, so here inside the pie, you will realize that we have the percent here, but we didn't define the value as percent. So the symbol, we forgot this. So if you have that symbol there as the percent, we can go ahead and also change the inner radius. So the inner radius, we can define it to be something like 0. And so if it is 0, then you can see that we have this as our pie chart. But I just want to have some radius. So maybe if you say something like 10, you will see that it grows quite a little bit. But since we had 40, we can just use that one as our radius. So refresh the page. You can see that now we have our dashboard here showing the top 10 counties with the type of the crime, and then there are values showing. So this is Nakuru with 128 cases of homicide. Then down here we are supposed to click on any of the counties, and then we get the crime distribution of that particular county. And then you can see we have now the percentage symbol there, and the radius, of course, as we had defined. Yeah, so this has been the project. I hope you have learned something. In the next video, I'll show you how to deploy this to Vercel, and I hope you will enjoy in the coming tutorial. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. This one has been quite a very long tutorial, but I hope you have learned something about React, React-Leaflet, Geospatial databases, Postgres, PostGIS, and all those things, components, charts, and many other things on how to fetch this geospatial data from the database using the API, and also how to run your APIs as we have here, and how to visualize your geospatial data on a map. So thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also you can leave a comment if this was helpful. You can also share with your friends, like the video, and I've enjoyed to also teach you this kind of project. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.